Hopefully they don't. Now, this whole uh, this whole podcast is based around. Hang on, that's great. I'm gonna try and fix things up now because someone tried to call through my phone, and that's there we go. I think that's working. This whole podcast is around complaint, right? And I could have easily gone into who the bloody hell is calling me now? Don't they know I'm using my iPhone 15 as a camera? And now they're calling and it's ruining my podcast. See, I could go into that, and it's like the universe has said, Saddhanta, get on with talking about what this podcast is about. And this podcast is about complaining and where we need to move towards. So I was going into all this other nonsense just before, and I got a nice little shuffle up to get on with what needs to be spoken about today. Complaining. Why do we do it? How is it helpful? Is it helpful at all? What are we trying to achieve by complaining? When we complain, we're literally, basically, we are protesting what is. We are saying things as they are should not be like this. Without incredible wisdom as one human being coming through an ego on this planet, we're insisting through our complaint, this is not correct. This is wrong. Which just in itself there, that understanding there shows the absurdity of complaint. It's one thing to compare, which creates the illusion, and then move into complaint, which is now that you've created an illusion, you've created this idea of separation, or you have agreed upon it, because we're programmed and conditioned to believe that there is separation. And when we agree upon that, and then we go into complaint, and again, the system itself pushes us into a state of complaining. Oh, it shouldn't be like this. You know, commercialism helps us to complain. You don't have the recent iPhone, so you mean nothing until you get that for yourself. It's so funny. You know, you can have a wonderful iPhone, let's say 13, whatever, but it's not until a new one comes out, and again, that comparison thing, and then you find yourself complaining. This is a hangover of comparison. We start with comparison, creates a split, has us very much ingrained into the mire of this dualistic experience. When I say mire, it's an illusion, in that ultimately, if we were to look at reality, if we could look at reality, it would all be one. It's all of one thing. But the experience that we're having is a dualistic experience. And so when we understand that when we find ourselves complaining, there's another side to it. What is the other side of the coin here? Complaining keeps us locked in low vibration, which is just one end of the spectrum. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just that if you're not enjoying it, well, you might want to move away from the part of the spectrum that you're insisting you should remain in. And when you complain, you're insisting that this is a good idea for me. If I complain right now, then eventually I'll get what it is that I need. Complaining is protesting what is, and it's a refusal to embrace differentiation, that there's things that are different, that there is a contrast in your experience. You're saying that this contrast is not correct. When you're complaining, there is a lack of celebration. Okay? So that's what's going on here. When you find yourself in a state of complaining, your reticular activating system has gone looking for what's wrong. You've been programmed and conditioned to do so. What's the problem here? Again, through the schooling system, we get sent through school to solve problems. Solving a problem insists that there is something wrong. It is saying, solve the problem. We're all being pushed into that synthesis hypothesis kind of thing. That whole not synthesis, it's thesis, antithesis. Sorry. So as we all know, good marketing, good commercialism, good way of forcing people into becoming that consumerist mule is to give them a problem and at the same time provide the solution. Christianity's done that. It's like, oh, did you realize that you're a sinner? And, oh no, I didn't realize I was. Oh yes, no, because look at it. Look what you've done. You judge. That's not good. And you see, if you've judged someone in your heart, well, that's the Bible says that's murder. So see, you're a sinner. You convince people that they've sinned. They agree with you. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, I've fallen short here. But don't worry, we have a solution for you. See how the sales pitch works. I'm going to convince you you have a problem, and then I'm going to give you the solution. So through this programming, by this dominator culture, this programming that we're under, when I find people talking about problems, literally what they're doing is, I have this problem, I have a complaint, they're complaining. Today, I helped someone using the bioenergetic reset and some conversational hypnosis, work through her fear of flying. And I helped her to understand that what's going on is she's complaining that, a bit about something that's just not even happening. This is how heavily the conditioning can go into us, is that the dominator culture and those that seek to control us cause us to time travel and project our consciousness off into the future, which is an illusion even deeper than this illusion. You see, if you're absolutely present to what is, well, now you're getting closer to reality, but then you can go a deeper layer again and project off into the future, and now you're in a dream within a dream. Now you're way off the mark. Being just present alone is getting closer to what is, closer to the higher consciousness, but projecting into the future, dwelling on the past, you're going to find plenty to complain about, and it's easy to complain about something that's not real. If you look at nature, nature is present. Do you see any of nature complaining? No. There's no complaint in nature. Therefore, we can begin to understand that complaining is not natural. It's not. So, why do we find ourselves complaining? It's because there's a lack of celebration. Now, if you look at nature, nature is celebrating all the time. What is celebration? Celebration is expression. It's expression of a high vibration. Complaining is an expression of a low vibration. That's all. Now, get this piece. Can you be happy and complain at the same time? Well, yes, I've witnessed that happen. I've seen people complaining to a degree about something, and they're in a happy mood. They're happy. Now, here we go. This is how I see that complaining, that celebration is the opposite, is the complementary of complaining. Because can you complain and celebrate at the same time? No. Okay, so happiness is not what we need in order to remove. See, what happens is people want to be happy. I just want to be happy. That's a complaint in itself. Well, the fact that you want to be happy is creating a problem. But if you celebrate, it's all sorted out in the moment, because it lands you here. Can you celebrate tomorrow? No. Can you celebrate yesterday? No. You can only celebrate now. And if you look at all of nature, nature is celebrating. Look at the trees. They are expressing themselves at the highest vibration. That's what celebration is. Complaining is just a lack of celebration. Just as darkness is a lack of light. Remove the light, there is darkness. Remove the celebration, there is complaint. Much, much the same here. My son the other day, I took him to watch my stepdaughter's football soccer game, and he was complaining because when he went to try out for sports at his school, he was unable to get in because he had injured himself in skating. And he was having a bit of a complaint. He said, oh, when I injured myself and now I can't do sports. He was really diving deep into his complaint. And this is another aspect of complaining that I want to bring to your awareness. Complaining is you thinking that you know what is going on. Complaining is also insisting that the story is over. And that's what I said to my son. He's complaining right there. And I said, son, how do you know you were meant to do winter sports this year? Maybe you're just meant to continue on with your skating. And he was fighting for his victimhood. He was fighting to be able for his right to complain. And he does have a right to complain if he wants. I gently guided him out of that, where I said, well, look, what I'll do is I'll get onto Facebook and I'll have a look at Cheapskates because they have, skate comps on. Maybe I'm meant to skate a little bit more this year and do some comps. Well, the interesting thing was I went on to the Facebook page they had, and boom, there was a competition on that day. That day. Here we are in the morning, and I said, look at this. This is perfect, son. You could enter a skate comp today if you want. And he was like, really? I was like, yeah. See, when we go into complaint, we're going to miss things that we can celebrate because our focus is on low vibration. Our focus is on that low vibratory expression. We are looking for what's wrong. We're not looking for what's right. Nature is insisting that everything is all right. Everything is beautiful, and that's why nature is beautiful. Nature does not complain. Have you ever seen anyone that looks beautiful complaining? No. It's low vibration. It's ugly. How do I know? Because, well, I've complained so much in my life. The only reason I'm even sharing this is because I was a great complainer. Queen could do a song about that. Oh, yes, I'm the great complainer. It should be pretender. And actually, that's what complaining really is pretending that what's going on just shouldn't be happening. We're insisting that this is bad. I said to my son at the moment, I said, well, look at that. You see, did you know that was going on? Did you know there was an opportunity here for you to get into your skating, to do this competition? As it turned out, we went to the competition and he won. Now, that would not have happened had he been doing winter sports. I said, see how it works? I said, son, you need to understand that the story's not over yet. Your complaining is insisting that you've reached a point where the story is finished. Right, the story's over. It's all complete. And it was wrong. We're so stuck. We're complaining because we've managed to get ourselves stuck in the past. And then we're projecting that past over into the future. So we're just simply not here. No wonder you're complaining. No wonder you're having a complaint because you are now no longer true. You're complaining, which makes you untrue. It means you're making up a story. You're going into a dream within a dream. Now, we are already in a dream. We are in this existence that we call life. And it is a dualistic existence. So all we need to know, like complaining is there. What do we need to do? Move over to celebration. Complaining is you insisting that you know what's going on. You don't. You don't know what's going on. Okay? No one does. I don't know. I'm not going to insist that I do know. I don't. Everything I'm sharing here on this podcast, on anything that I share, is just my findings as I've gone through life. And okay, I might share a story, but I'm not dwelling on it. In fact, I've found so much liberation of recent by not dwelling. Oh my God, just the word itself sounds gross, right? Let go of dwelling on anything. If you dwell, that's you dawdling. It's you falling behind what is happening. You're now behind reality. And then you go into fear-based, and that's you stepping in front of. It's like imagine yourself being at a movie and standing in front of the screen and yelling at the audience, it shouldn't be like this. That's what complaining is. That's what complaining is there. You're insisting this is not okay. Before we get to the end of this movie, before we get to the end of the story, I'm going to say this is not right. It's you insisting that you think you know. No one fucking knows. No one knows. They don't. I don't know. Anyone that thinks they know are just stuck in their ego and also stuck in the illusion again. They're creating another dream within a dream. When you're complaining, you're in a dream. It's not real. The story is not over. How can you know what's going on? Letting go of complaint allows us to drop into celebration. Complaining is an attempt at control. Again, that's come through our programming and conditioning. There is no need for us to be in control of anything. Again, I bring it back to nature. Even if you think, oh yeah, but these lions out there and they catch the gazelle. Is the lion trying to control reality? No. The lion is just doing what's natural to its genetic expression. It's honoring what it is. There's no malice or hate in it. In fact, there's no emotion connected to it. That's why animals, aside from the animals that we domesticate, wild animals don't tend to express emotion. I'm not saying they don't have feelings. Yes, they do have feelings. Absolutely, they have feelings. But they don't have the neurosis of the human emotion. Now, where did this come from, this energy in motion? It's been programmed into us. We have been told, when someone dies, you should be sad. When someone steals something from you, you should be angry. Well, do you know the full story? Maybe someone stole something because it was life and death. Maybe they're in a place of despair, and if you understood their story completely, you would say, hey, look, you don't have to steal it. Let me give it to you. But again, even the fact that someone would feel that they need to steal is them insisting that there's a problem. The whole idea around problems, solving problems. There are no problems. As I said to this woman today around this fear of flying, she didn't have that in the end. I said, you don't have a problem. You just have a program. Yeah? You don't have a problem. You simply have a program. So there, not even complaining. Again, a program is a program. It's just doing what it does. And so you can, when you understand that it's not a problem, would it be difficult to remove? No, because it's just a program. It's not a problem. And we've all been heavily conditioned to believe a problem is something to solve. The idea that you need to solve it creates a problem within a problem, which is a dream within a dream. And it's just so simple. It really is. Again, as I've said in one of my previous podcasts on healing is simple, please go watch that one. Because healing is simple. In fact, healing is simplicity itself. I've watched people say, I've woken up from the matrix. I'm exiting the matrix. No, you're not. You're still here. I can see you. Most of us are waking up from a dream and still find that we're within a dream. It's not until you understand that even in this moment, your realization that you're asleep is closer to waking up than professing that you're awake. You're not. You can be awake. You can be aware that you're asleep. That's about it. But if you truly wake up, you're no longer here. You're gone. You are gone. Good night, nurse. You wake up from this matrix, you're gone. There's no you here. That's why they call it nirvana. The Buddhists call it nirvana, which means to blow out the candle. I've woken up. Most people wake up from one illusion into another. We live in a matrix of layers of programming and conditioning. That is the illusion. Whatever you think is illusory. But whatever you're present to is real. And if you're truly, 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 truly present, you're just in the moment. Tell me, how can you have anything to complain about? Because you would have to have an understanding of the past and the future in order to be able to complain. So again, and I'll keep coming back to this, what's happening here is a lack of celebration. You can only celebrate the now. And you can only celebrate in the now. You can only also complain right now, but what are you complaining about? Can you really complain about now? No, you can only complain about yesterday or your fears about the future. You can only complain about the past. And your complaining is an attempt at control because you're insisting that you know better. You've already created separation through comparison. And now you're going into complaint. That's why I started this series, A Course in Direction, of knowing the split takes place when you compare. There's no complaining as such with comparison, but it's very, very subtle. It is the scalpel that opens the wound. It starts the fire. It is the spark that will see you going into complaint. And then it gets worse, and I will be doing another podcast on that one, the third part, which is then you go into criticism. Gets even worse. Just goes from bad to worse. You start comparing. It seems that it's very innocent. But complaining comes out of comparing, and criticism comes out of complaining. The criticism's very, very... Yeah, it's quite insidious. It's doing a lot of damage at that point. You only need to start criticizing and then, convincing. There's another C for you. Convincing others to criticize, and then you have war. You have a real split on your hands at that point. So, of course, in the first podcast, the way in which you can move away from criticism is to go into compassion. Compassion is the antidote to criticism. And in this case, when we then find ourselves complaining, the antidote to complaint is celebration. You cannot complain and celebrate at the same time. You can't. Okay, you can be happy and complain. I've seen people do it. I've done it. It can be a subtle complaint. But you cannot celebrate and complain at the same time. So that is the antidote. That is the swing of the pendulum that you must move towards. You must move towards it. If you find yourself stuck way up in complaint here, you're stuck in complaint. You're complaining. You're literally really deep in the illusion, and you're only hurting yourself. Others might get hurt too, but that depends on how deep their conditioning goes and their programming. But to move out of complaining, you just need to move towards celebration. Complaining is simply directing your focus at what's wrong. Celebration is directing your focus at what's right. But it's actually doing something about it. It's celebrating. You know, I go back to that story of my son complaining that he didn't have a winter sport to do. But, you know, as I said, when you realize the story's not over and you don't know, what you've done there is you've calmed you're moved away from the ego. And now you become the pure witness. When you're simply witness to your life, try not to be anyway. You are always witness to your life. But where things get very difficult and where you get trapped deeper in the illusion is where you truly believe your life, your persona, the character that you are playing, you truly believe that's you. How can it be? I'll go back to what I was trying to explain earlier on. As Alan Watts says, you can't have up without down. You can't have in without out. That is the nature of this matrix. It is dualistic. It is like a coin. It has two sides. You cannot have anything in this time-space matrix that is not dualistic. It has two sides to it. God only has one side, and we can't fathom one side because it's so simple, it's beyond our comprehension. As if you go back into the Healing is Simple podcast, that'll explain that. And so letting go, understanding that simplicity is very, very, it will take you back to foundational stuff again of truth. But in this time-space matrix, we have a dualistic expression. And understanding that if there's a part of you that is mortal, remember, duality in this time-space matrix cannot be broken. Otherwise, if you do manage to break it, you wake up. You're gone from the dream. You now have entered into nirvana, to blow the candle out. Because you look at it, to blow out to the final breath. And it has this connotation of blowing out a candle. That insists there's one and the other. That's a dualistic thing, but it's that final blow. And then there's only one thing that remains. There's no longer light. I get it with nirvana. There's no longer light and darkness. The darkness gives the background to the light. Once that candle's blown out, there's only a singularity. There's not duality. You are now in the singularity. There is simply darkness. And that's what consciousness is. Consciousness is not light. Consciousness is the background. Consciousness is the very thing that gives context to what we call things. I would say that consciousness is more like the page than the writing that's on the page. It gives a field for things to take place in. But the things that take place within that consciousness is not the consciousness itself. It's just present and aware. And so when we come back to this understanding of duality, you do not need to fear, nor do you need to complain, because you have chosen to have this experience, because it's an eternal part of yourself. The fact that you have a front implies you have a back. By implication, you have a back. It was interesting, as I said to this lovely lady today, I said, the fact that you are a mortal being, what does that imply? Also, under the law of duality, she said that I'm going to die. See how the ego went straight for the negative. That's still, mortal means it's not going to last. But see, it just went deeper and deeper into that. I could see where her consciousness was at. I said, no, what that also implies by nature is that if there's a part of you that is mortal, under the law of duality, there has to be a part of you that is immortal. Just like there's a part of you that is your outsides, that implies by nature. But I know, I see someone that has outsides, The implication of that is they have insides without me having to even question it. Up implies down. In implies out. Front implies back. Mortal implies immortal. Life implies death. Okay? Otherwise, we don't know what life is. You can't know what life is. You have to have the antithesis of. You have to have the thesis and the antithesis in order for there to be an understanding of what something is. You cannot have wet unless there is dry. And the understanding of the two create the one. That's how this matrix works. This time-space matrix that we're going through is an experience of understanding the one through two. That's what's going on here. And when we complain, it's insisting that celebration has to be there somewhere. And that's all it is. If you find yourself complaining too much, you're going to complain from time to time. That's okay. It's not bad. You say, I don't like this toast. It's cold. I like hot toast or whatever. You're going to complain about it. But what all that's happening, if you stay in that low vibration of complaint, is you're missing the main point, which is celebration. Celebration is natural. All of nature is celebrating. None of nature, like true nature without mind invading it, complains. It allows what is to be what is, and that is the celebration. For me, when I'm at the beach and I watch the waves, I'm watching the ocean celebrate. When I look at a tree and its expression through the branches and the leaves, and even when the leaves are falling, I see that nature is celebrating. It doesn't have anything to complain about. Complaining, anyway, is just stopping in your tracks and saying, right, the story's over. This means this. It's all bad. It's terrible. Like I said, the story hasn't finished. And my son, I was sitting there with him. He was deep in complaint. Oh, because I injured myself, I couldn't play sports. And in that moment, because I understand how this works, I said, hold on, you don't know the end of the story yet. And by the end of that day, we found ourselves doing something we didn't even know was going to happen. And as it turned out, he could see that what seemed to be a tragedy, he was unable to play sports because he got injured, a month and a half ago skating. But then here he is skating that day, and then he wins the competition, and he didn't even know that was going on. His complaint actually triggered off for me to help him understand, you don't know what's going on. Don't you go drawing conclusions. The story's not over yet. And it proved that the existence showed it to him in that moment, and he was celebrating. He went from complaint to celebration, and that's what this podcast is all about. You need to move through the motions. You're going to find yourself complaining, but don't remain there for long. All that's happening is you're focused on your conditioning and programming that says there is a problem here, and there is no problem in nature. This is just cycles and patterns. Once you find yourself in a state of complaint, what you move towards from there is celebration. Find what it is you can celebrate and get on with celebrating it, and you'll find that complaint can't be there through celebration. Like I said, it's very interesting. You could be happy and complain, but you cannot be celebrating and complain. It just doesn't happen. And so that is the antidote there. In the next podcast, I will be going into the third aspect of these C's. I call it the 3 C's that destroy happiness, but I didn't like that title. So I just went for a course and direction, because what this is about is when you find yourself on one end of the scale, you just need to know the direction in which to move towards to get yourself out of the low vibration. We're going to ebb and flow between low vibration and high vibration anyway. Understand this. Is a low vibration bad? Is darkness bad? See, really, when you just drop into a pure natural state, no, there's nothing wrong with low vibration. In fact, without the low vibration, we can't have high vibration. Just as the peak of the mountain cannot have its peak without the valley. The valley implies the height of the mountain. The height of the mountain implies the depth of the valley. You are simply living in a dream. This matrix is a dream. It's not what you ultimately are at the end of the day. It's called existence because it stands out from reality. Reality is the ultimate. It is that which is one. Okay, and existence means to stand out, which is implying two. Okay, so that's why the law of duality is in this existence, but the law of duality is not in the reality. The reality is one. Everything stands out from that, which is two. And then it just goes on from there. That's where we go into dreams within dreams within dreams, with illusions within illusions. It's all, yeah, I mean, as you can see, I'm using very, very practical application here. You can understand this for yourself. I'm not telling you anything new. You know this because ultimately you are conscious. Ultimately you are awareness. And when you turn awareness upon itself, that is a moment of enlightenment. Because what is happening? What's going on? Well, awareness is just aware of awareness. Singularity. Like I said, we can't say darkness is bad without, or space. Isn't it interesting that space is dark? Why is that? Well, because there's no thing there. And then we go and assume that God is light. Hold on. In the beginning, God said, let there be light. So what was there first? Darkness. See how it's all been flipped on its head. Don't despise darkness. You know, I never gave my children a nightlight. I wanted them to be able to embrace the darkness, to be fine with it. They both sleep in pure darkness. So good for them. I see so many children, they're afraid of the dark. Oh, wow. You know, that is literally being afraid of yourself. And even the idea of fear. Fear is just implying that there's something wrong, and that's the illusion. Life is a celebration. It's pure expression. We even in this world ruin celebration. Celebration is natural. It happens when you just let life be what it is. But what we've tagged celebration to is a triumph over something else. Is like in competition, we create competition, and only when we win the competition can we celebrate. See what I mean? We go and ruin something that is very, very, very natural. Celebration is what takes place in the absence of complaint. Celebration is what takes place in the absence of complaint. Complaining is an idea. And we've all been programmed and duped by ideas. Starting here and realizing that. When I saw this wonderful lady today overcome her fear, she couldn't believe it, you know, of flying. In the moment, I didn't need to like deeply hypnotize her. It was helping her see the absurdity of what was going on and realizing that it's not her. Even the idea that, see what you're doing to yourself, we say that one. No, see the illusion. See the illusion. See the lie. Yes, you know, this idea of flying, that there's something to fear. Well, the one that is flying and that which is being flown and the witness to all of that is all one. And then you can begin to celebrate and simply enjoy the movie, enjoy the show, pop the popcorn, sit back, allow it to be as you are here to see, allow things to flow. as you let it go. Allow there to be seen everything that is one, and allow it to be identified, that which you're pushing away, creating two. You only know yourself because the other. And when you see that, you know that is you. Because there is no separation, there's nowhere to go. Because when you go there, when you get there, you're here. Because you've never been anywhere else but here. Here is what you are, and here is what you see. Now is the place in which you will always be. So don't hold on to the dream within dreams. Let go and see that awake you will be when you accept the other, just as if they're me. Your life is an expression, one that does not need control. Life is a dance, a celebration. Since times old, you can let go and you can embrace at the same time. And this is the grace, because a river flows because it lets go, at the same time receives and allows the flow with ease. There we go, just sort of making up a poem right on the spot. I wasn't meant to be doing poetry today. I trust that was helpful for you as we delve into these understandings, the world of the mystic. For me, I love being a mystic. It just, in itself, as one who loves the mystery, which means it literally embracing the not knowing. Because life is not a problem to be solved. It is a mystery to be experienced. Play the game of the Matrix. Enjoy it. Play along. Learn English and math and all that. Learn. But learn so that you can let it go at the same time. Don't hold on to it like a trophy or a badge. Let it go. Because at the end of the day, you are not that. And you can't take it with you wherever it is that you end up going. We don't know. When we understand that we don't know and we embrace that, life becomes a celebration. A tree doesn't even know it's a tree. It lets go. And it comes to the point where it eventually lets go of its leaves. There's a time for newness to come through, and there's a time for letting go. Read the book of Ecclesiastes. It talks about that. There's a song around that. There's a time for war and there's a time for peace. In this experience, in this grand movie that we're experiencing, that is the truth. There will be ups, there will be downs, but no matter what, you cannot be destroyed. No matter what, there will always be consciousness, that which is witness to it. So let go of complaining, and the way in which you do that is through moving back into a natural state of celebration. And you see everything as it is. You allow everything to be as it is. And now you are closer to truth by simply letting things be what they are, letting life be what it is. It just is what it is. Even the name of God in the Judaic tradition in Christianity, I am that I am. That just talks about what is. It is what it is. The I am that I am is literally saying it is what it is. And it is, right? We go naming things and make it what it's not. That's what we do. Someone says, oh, what's that? Oh, it's a rose. No, it is what it is. That's what it is. That's more true. What's a rose? Will the word rose ever give you the experience of its fragrance? It cannot. The word water will never get you wet. I always remind people of that. The reality is not in the words and what we say. The reality is it's that in the moment presence. Always. So become real. Be more real. You can only be real now. You can't be real later. Embrace life and celebrate. There's nothing to complain about because life is a celebration. And life is not a complaint. Life is not a problem to be solved. Once again, I repeat myself on that one. Life is a mystery to be experienced. And doesn't that just straight away make you want to celebrate? In the next podcast, we're going to go into the final C and the direction in which to move away from it, which is criticism. And, these three, the first one, as I said, comparison, which leads then to complaint, which then leads to criticism, which ultimately leads to war. But those three things take you out of your joy, take you out of happiness, understanding that moving from comparison, just simply go into compassion. Have compassion for yourself, have compassion for the other. Moving away from complaint is simply come into celebration. Shift the focus from what's wrong to what is. It's not even about what's right or wrong. Just celebrate. Nature just simply celebrates. And in the next podcast, we will look into the nature of criticism and the direction in which to move in order to find our freedom again. I trust that you have enjoyed this transmission. It seems to have held up on Facebook today, which is cool. But I'll wipe that out once I put up the podcast on YouTube. I am sending you all my love, and let there be light.